So yesterday I was doing a little bit of research and I stumbled into a very cool quote that said, it's not about having faith in technology, but having faith in people. And when I read this, it really resonated with me because this is something that I practice every single day when I consult and assist my clients. And I know when they purchase the tool from me, they're not just investing in the technology alone, but they're believing in me and what services I'm able to render back to them. And for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Kurt the Consultant, and I'm going to share with you a really cool case study on how I helped a mechanic not only program the transmission control module, but relearn it back to the vehicle. And my main goal is to just share with you the importance of having that human element when you're considering buying this tool. So with that being said, guys, let's go to the computer and I'll show you the rest of the presentation. Hey guys, welcome back to this training and case study on how to do an adaptive relearning procedure on a 2014 Ford Focus. I'll be your host, Curtis Harden, and before we jump in this presentation, let me just cover some of the key points of what you will learn by the end of this presentation. So by the end of this case study, you will learn identifying where the TCM module is located, outsource or in-house programming, which option is best for your workshop's operation, my programming methodology, the steps I take to prep and execute a programming procedure, and then lastly, how to do the adaptive relearning procedure with the Maxisys Elite. So in today's case study, we are working with the Maxisys Elite. The client is in the auto repair industry and we're working on a 2014 Ford Focus. Now, the problem was the client identified that the original TCM module was faulty, so he purchased a new one and he didn't know how to program it. Now, before he hired me, he was outsourcing this. And part of the services that I offer is, teaching people how to do their programming. So I said this would be a good time to do it. After this programming procedure, there is a relearning procedure that also need to be done. So my goal was just to teach him step by step how to install the software, run the programming, and then conduct the follow-up relearning procedure. So here's a diagram of the location of the TCM module, and if you locate the part number 7Z369, you'll see what it looks like. It's quite a bulky module compared to a standard ECU, and the unit will run for about plus minus $400. Now, I got a question for you. How many of you are outsourcing programming events right now? Okay? In some situations, it's ideal for an owner to outsource this. It's not worth, investing in the computer and installing it. But in other cases, it might be something that you might consider. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you on this next slide when to keep it in-house or when to outsource it. To outsource or not to outsource? That is the question. Now, what I suggest is if you're programming one time every 6 months, it's okay to keep on outsourcing. Due to the fact that it's not worth going through the pain of buying a laptop, configuring your computer and programming. It's not worth it, okay? But if you're programming between 4 to 6 times every 6 months, that might be a good indication that you need to keep that in-house. All right, let me tell you a story. A few days ago, I had a guy out of California who was telling me that he was being charged $300 for programming. And he gets this about 4 times a week, right? When I heard this, I almost fell out my chair. All that money left on the table, as most manufacturers are around $50 on average, okay? Some are higher, some are cheaper, but on average, I would say they're about $50, for a day subscription. This might be a viable venture if you especially live in a rural area where there's no accessible dealers or mobile techs to program a module for you, because it takes time. You gotta, get somebody to take the car there, take it back, set an appointment, and time is money. So this is just my observation. All right. what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you my methodology when I prep a client's computer and conduct the programming. Okay. So to give you guys a better understanding about what's involved in programming, I like to use analogies. I think they give you a good visualization, and you'll see what prep is involved to perform and execute a successful programming event. So as you can see here, we have a professional archer. There are 3 elements used in the sport of archery. There's the bow, the arrow, and the target. So let's just put this in perspective. In the programming world, the bow would be the laptop, which needs to be a Windows 10, by the way. Then the arrow will represent the calibration software file that we downloaded from the OEM, and the target is the vehicle's ECU that we're programming. Now, I don't know about you, but I've actually tried and participated in archery, and what I learned was there's a lot of prep involved. You can't just go off firing, you know. I had to configure the arrow or the bow to me. Then I had to calibrate my aim to the target, and then I could release the arrow into the target. This same process is involved before you even program an ECU, all right? And what you guys maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, there's a gray area when it comes to programming, meaning the OEMs won't help you install the software. It's hard enough to find their instructions on how to download their software step by step. And as of right now, Autel doesn't give you instructions on how to do that. So that relies on the person who you purchase from. And a lot of them don't have that expertise. So at the end of the day, for those of you who are, let's say they bought a stage 2 tool, the 906 BT, and Autel has the J2534, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. Okay, if you don't have anybody to show you how to do this, it's the learning curve on how to install some of these software is really, really steep. It even takes me a couple hours, just depending on what, you know, software that they have that's conflicting with the OEM software. Okay, so in this next slide, I'm going to just give you the steps that you can use to prep your computer. Okay. Now, before I begin installing the software, I have to get in their computer. So I give them an application called TeamViewer, which basically allows me to connect to their computer and take over it. And, you know, that way I can consult them like as if I'm over the shoulder. And once I'm in the client's computer, I will start uninstalling their virus scanning software and maybe other software that could conflict with the program from the OEM, and I will also disable their firewalls. All right. If you read the OEM's instructions, they always say to have all those deleted or enabled. All right. So that's step 1. If we go to step 2, I will then begin downloading the Autel J2534 drivers. All right. And then I will install a password manager. Now, for those of you who don't know, a password manager is just that. It will manage the emails and passwords that you have associated on several sites. So let's face it, most people will keep their passwords on a piece of paper, and it's very hard to retrieve. So with the password manager, you can basically go to the site and it will log in for you. It'll log in for you. You're in. You don't have to remember anything. And then that way you don't waste any time trying to figure out different passwords for each of the OEM sites. So I'll consult the client and show them how to use that software. And then, so once we have the password manager, we'll go to the site, create the account, and then pay for the OEM subscription. All right, which I said, on average, let's say it's below $50. Some are more, like Nissan is quite expensive. I think it's like $270 for the software for the whole year. And then they charged per calibration file like $19. Ford, as of right now, is like $50 for 72 hours. Some are $20. It really depends. So what I tell people is stick with the American makes in the beginning, because those are quite easy to install, and then you can make good profit out of it. You know, depending on your area, you can probably charge a client, you know, $200. As I said, there was one client that was doing this. He was being charged $300. Some areas are really cheap, you know. I've seen like $80. So you just have to maybe call your local dealer, see how much they would charge, you know, to do a programming procedure, and that way you can have a baseline on how much to charge your clients. All right. And then the last step is connecting the J2534 and starting the programming application. Now, mind you guys, you need a battery maintainer, not a charger, a maintainer. Maintainer gives the car's battery a stabilized voltage. All right. You can get away with it, you know, if that's all you have, because those maintainers are quite expensive. But eventually, when you're doing this, you need to have one, because if that thing gets low, the voltage I'm talking about, you can brick the car's ECU. All right, so it's all in the preparation, guys. If you have the prep, it's pretty much smooth sailing after that. We finally got that programming out the way. Now let's start to get into the meat and potatoes, the adaptive learning procedure. Now, to get to this menu is very simple. Just enter the year, make, and model, and then look for the hot function icon and enter the TCM adaptive learning menu. Now, this procedure must be performed after you replace a TCM component as it's requested in the service manual. Now, what's going to happen is this is going to completely reset the TCM parameters and conduct a series of routines that will allow the TCM to be relearned to the transmission range sensor, the shift drum, and the clutch. Okay? Now, if you don't do this correctly, your transmission is going to be weird. All right? So just if you just follow the instructions, you'll do it correctly. It's very simple. And as you can see, we have the transmission range sensor, the shift drum, and the clutch. Now, to begin the first phase of this procedure, you're going to start from basically left to right. You know, transmission range sensor, shift drum, then the clutch, right? So to start, we're going to hit perform adaptive learning. All right. This procedure will calibrate the transmission range sensor, blah, 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 blah. Do you want to continue? Then we're going to click yes. All right, let me just fast forward this a bit. As you know, this is a recording, and there's some dialogue between me and the client. So now it says, make sure that the transmission gear is in park. All right. Now, this next set of instructions is very simple, all right? And it's going to take a bit of manual interaction, you know, with you performing certain functions on the vehicle and interaction with the tablet, all right? So this is what's going to happen. All you're going to do is read what's on the tablet, what it instructs you to do, and then manually shift the gear in that instructed position, and then confirm it to move on to the next gear position. Okay, that's pretty much it. It's not rocket science, okay? So let's watch the client execute this procedure. Let me fast forward it again. All right, there, this is good. Okay, right here is good. Now, as you can see, he's just going through the positions, or it's not rocket science. And once he finishes moving it, he just moves on to the next one. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now, once the function is complete, okay, it's going to go through a power down, and it's also going to clear all the DTCs to complete the service routine. All right, so this is what it looks like. I'm just going to speed it up a bit. All right, you see it's doing its thing. Bada boom. Then you're going to switch the ignition to the off position, and then you let it do its power down. All right, so I'm not going to waste your guys' time. Let me just fast forward that. So now we can move on to the shift drum. So on to the next phase. Locate the shift drum in the middle. All right, and then we're going to make sure that the gear is in park, and we're going to depress the brake pedal and hold. Okay, I know the vocabulary used is tricky, at least for me it was, but depress literally comes from the old French word depressor, meaning put down by force. Okay, so put the brake pedal down and hold. All right, it's that simple. It is from China, guys. Give it a break. All right. So we're holding, and we're gonna let it do its thing. I'm just gonna speed it up here. Function complete. Switch the ignition switch off, and we'll let the thing power down and clear DTCs. Okay, it's not rocket science, guys. This is quite an easy procedure. Now we're gonna power down and move on to the final phase. So finally, guys, we can finish the procedure by selecting the clutch icon. And first we're going to set the ignition switch to the on position and then press OK to continue to the next screen. Now we're going to put the gear in park position and depress the brake pedal and hold it there. Press OK to start the adaptive learning procedure, and it should take about 10 seconds to do this. Very simple. Just make sure you're holding down the brake while you're doing this. Great, now it's going to start resetting the adaptive values in the clutch system. And as you can see, it is verifying the resetting process if it failed or passed. And this should take about 6 seconds, so just bear with us. Yeah, this procedure, it's quite simple to do, because the Autel pretty much takes a lot of the guessing out. So now start the engine, but don't press the gas while you're starting the engine. All right. Now it's going to tell us to put it in park, put the brake all the way down, and put the pedal to the metal. And what's going to happen is it's going to reach to the highest RPM. And once those values are met, it will go back to the idle position. All right, so now it's back to the idle position, and it's going to start initiating the clutch point adaptive learning procedure on A and B. So the Autel just giving us a bit of background on what it's going to do. So yeah, you can just press OK. I'm just waiting for the client to do it. So just make sure when you're doing this procedure that the brake pedal is held down and the engine load is remaining stable, because releasing the brake pedal will screw up the procedure, and the adaptive learning procedure will fail. All right, so you can press the brake pedal and hold it there and then click OK. Oh, and lastly, make sure that all the vehicle electrical accessories are turned off. Okay, because this also will interfere with the relearning procedure. so it should take about 48 seconds as the RPM is being set to the calibrated value. And then after this, what's going to happen is it will perform on the gear shift B and touch point for the shaft B. And then that procedure is about 180 seconds, but that's pretty much it to the procedure. After that, you have successfully adapted this clutch. Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap that up. But yeah, you guys got the point. Not too bad. Once you know what to do, in terms of you know, just knowing how to get there, it's a relatively simple process. So guys, that will wrap up this case study. And just to summarize what you probably learned today, you guys now know the location of the TCM module and how much it costs for this vehicle. You know when to consider outsourcing your programming events or keeping it in-house. You also seen the preparation methodology that I use when conducting a programming procedure on a PC. And you've seen the function route on how to conduct a TCM Relearn with the Maxisys Elite. This is just a preview of what type of problems that you're going to be getting in the future, and they're all software related and coding related issues. So with that being said, you have to make a decision, and I want you to think about something. What if I sold you this tool, not knowing how to do any of this stuff, didn't know how to program, didn't know the tool well enough where I could show you the function route on how to do the relearning procedure? How would this have benefited you? To be frank, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. And I realized a long time ago, if I'm not capable of utilizing this tool to its full capacity, my clients suffer too. And I'll give you an example. I represent a lot of mobile mechanics, and they cater to auto body repair shops. When they go to these shops, they have our tool. They have, you know, the Maxisys Pro or the Elite, but you know, they don't specialize in the technical and the software stuff. So they'll call my clients, they'll fix the job, and they'll say, hey, you know, I got the same tool. But the problem is, you know, my clients, they have me at their disposal, you know. So if they need something clarified, or if they need, you know, a programming procedure done, we can do that. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. And I want to show you something else. Right here is my business archetype. Okay, this is how I structure my business. So I specialize in the software. You've seen in my other videos where I got software glitches fixed. I teach programming. Then the technical aspect, so knowing if the tool can do something, and I'll show you my client how to do it. And then hardware issues and sales. Okay, it's basically from top to bottom. Sales I don't really focus on. That's why I don't put my stuff on Amazon or eBay. All right. And then what I've observed is the industry is actually reversed. Okay, so the sales is a priority, and that's why I'm saying you can buy this tool anywhere. You can buy it at Walmart, you know, anywhere. And they do have, you know, general repair facilities, but the technical and software lack with let's say vendors who use this sales first mentality. The reason I say this, because if you think about it logically, if I'm forking out, you know, $100,000 worth of tools a month, there's no way I'll have the manpower to consult all those clients. So bottom line, if you choose this path, then you're going to be lacking in the technical and the software. All right, so unless you're, you know, already queued up with the tool and you know how to address those issues yourself, then I guess you can go and just get the tool. All right, but if you want to benefit from it, okay, I can definitely help you do that. All right, if that's you, if you have the same belief system, give me a call. My number is right on top, 844-210-9020. And yeah, I can help you not only get the tool, but actually help you learn to utilize it to make money and help clients. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. If you are already a subscriber, I want to thank you so much for your support. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe. And I got some cool content coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. With that, have a good one, guys. Take care.